Thank you all for coming and listening to episode 5. This is going to be Making Choices in Life. That's going to be the title of today's episode, Making Choices in Life. Um, I'm going to read a little bit, a section of Bailey's Treasure. It's going to be on page 5, and it's going to be Bailey 2025. So that's going to be Bailey in her current state. I'm just going to read a little bit, and then we're going to kind of get into some of the choices that Bailey makes as my main character of the story. Today is the day I realized how tightly wound I am. The journal I found in Dad's man cave says Carla on the cover. I think he found this journal in the chest Mom used to keep in her workroom. I'm not sure who Carla is, but the entries are interesting. I closed the book, not sure, and put it back in my purse. As I walk through the aisle of the dollar store, I start to calm down. I stop by the craft section. It is limited, but has the greatest selection of ribbon. Thick ribbon, thin ribbon, ribbon with polka dots, and ombre spread across the display wall. How tightly wound these balls of ribbon are. They remind me of my mind. Family wound around school, wound around work, round around the world. I pick up one of the purple spools. Even to touch, it is tight and unforgiving. No room for anything to get in, until at last the clear piece of tape that holds it all together is released by a single finger snap. Slowly, the once tight ball of fabric, wound slowly and deliberately, unwinds. And that goes on to page 6. So this kind of talks about Bailey's mind a little bit. It kind of explains kind of how she is at the age of 35. That she's feels pent up. She feels tight. And so this kind of goes along to some of her choices that she makes in life. She goes to college. She gets several degrees. She goes on to teach. That doesn't really work out. You'll read about that in the book. Because of a course of events, she moves back home to be living with her dad. And again, you'll have to go and read and see how that really goes. So she's a 35-year-old woman living at home. And then there are several boyfriends, and she makes all the wrong decisions with these boyfriends. And in these boyfriends, she's searching. She's searching for something. She's searching for something that she doesn't have. And she's looking. With one of these boyfriends, there is substance abuse. And then some more of her decisions or choices in life not to take responsibility. She has a lot of debt. She has a lot of bills. And instead of using some money that she gets for those bills, she uses it to take care of men. And so these choices that she is making is all kind of coming together to show her personality, to show her characteristic as someone who is not making very good choices. What is absent from her life? She has not accepted Christ into her heart. And because of all of these choices, she feels like a failed person. She feels like she is failing at life. She feels like she can't find her way. She feels like all is lost in her world. And I want to encourage you today to know that there's a little bit of Bailey in all of us. All of us sometimes get to a point in life to where we're just not making the right choices, and we think we are. We try to do the best things, but because of things in our lives, it's hard to make those correct choices. It's hard to know which way to go. You'll find out reading, the book, that Bailey has some abandonment issues. She loses her mom. She has some abandonment issues. And so these are things that she should seek help with in healing, but she does not. And so we're left with these choices in this shell of a person. Um, I would like to give um, encouragement that when you're making choices in life, you have to have God in it. You have to have some stability and some backing based on why you're making the choices that you have. And you have to have accountability. A lot of times, Bailey was not accountable for her actions. She didn't feel like the things that she was going through were her fault. She just was out here floundering and just making decisions. And that's not so much the way that we should go. Um, I have 3 verses in the Bible that have been proven to give some direction when making choices. One of my first ones, one thing that I like to live by is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5-6. Trust in the Lord completely and do not rely on your own ideas. Acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. So trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. Sometimes you have to make choices that don't go along or don't align with what you feel. Sometimes you have to make choices that don't make any sense, that um, are more um, God's plan than your plan. And ultimately, those choices that you make are better for you. Another good one is Proverbs 16:9. Humans make their own plans in their hearts, but the Lord directs their steps. Okay. Just because you want it in your heart does not mean it's what's good for you. Going back to Bailey, she's out here, she's looking, she's wanting, but the desires of her heart were doing nothing but leading her down the wrong path. And so she had to come to terms with that, and she had to look at that, and she had to see, this isn't good for me. This isn't right. And then the last one is the Psalms, 119, or chapter 119, verse 105. God's word acts as a lamp to our feet and a light to our path, showing the next step rather than the whole map. So we have to take God with us daily. Okay. It can't just be you're not gonna get the big picture. You're not gonna see everything right up front. You're gonna get a little bit and it's gonna be revealed, and then you're gonna get a little bit and it's going to be revealed. And this is really for us. Right? This lamp to our feet. This is really for us to be able to handle um what God has for us. This is so that we can have time to process it, and time to sit with it, and time to understand um what choices and what direction we need to go in. Because if God gave us and told us the whole map of our life at one time, how many of us would really do it? How many of us would really go through the things that God has for us to go through if we knew on day one what that was going to be? Because that's what Jesus was. He knew he came to this earth to be a sacrifice for us. How many of us would still do what God told us to do? I know some of the things that I've gone through. If God told me in my 20s that I'd be going through the things I'm going through right now, I'd be scared. I wouldn't do it. I'd say I wasn't good enough. I'd say I wasn't ready. Um, but as I've matured and I've grown and I've learned to lean and depend on Jesus, I know now that he was equipping me for all of these things that I'm going through: motherhood, being single, caring for an elderly parent, all of these things that I'm going through now. Um, it prepared me. It got me ready. And so when making choices, these are the things that we need to really think about and have God at the forefront of these choices that we're making. We can't just go about making choices um, haphazardly. Okay. Well, I do thank you for watching and staying with me through this episode. I would encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody you think it might help. I will be at the Mesquite Farmers Market this Saturday. If you want to come by and see me, I can sign your book if you got your book on Amazon. I can do all those things, give you a hug, come by, give me a hug, say hi. Also, don't forget, you can go to carolclayauthor.com, and that's where you can purchase your copy of Bailey's Treasure. All right. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you next Monday.